SEC drops case against Ripple. XRP jumps to $15. Ripple wins SEC lawsuit. Shockwaves have been felt throughout the cryptocurrency community as a result of the Securities and Exchange Commission's announcement of a surprise turn of events in the continuing legal dispute with Ripple Labs. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, is rejoicing in what he terms a historic win as the price of XRP soars to $15. Court drops charges against Ripple, claims misunderstanding as reason for victory in SEC case. A misunderstanding over XRP's classification led the SEC to unexpectedly abandon its case against Ripple Labs. Many were caught unawares by this shocking statement, and experts are now speculating about what it could mean for the Bitcoin industry as a whole. Is this a hint that regulators are starting to see digital assets differently? Ripple XRP reaches $15 amid successful legal case. Recent days have seen record highs for XRP as word of the SEC's ruling has circulated. The cryptocurrency's recent price surge has investors rushing to purchase it. Does this represent the long-awaited moment for XRP holders, or is it merely a spurt driven by speculation? The CEO of Ripple, Garlinghouse, gloats over success and plans expansion. After a long legal struggle, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has announced victory in a statement. Now that the litigation is out of the way, Garlinghouse is making grand announcements about Ripple's future, including entering new markets and forming agreements with big banks. Will Ripple's independence be sufficient to take XRP to new heights? Many are now asking what XRP's future holds now that the SEC litigation is behind it. Will Ripple's blockchain technology be widely used after its court victory? A more realistic question is whether the cryptocurrency's future is clouded by regulatory uncertainty. Murphy, better known by his stage name Meta Layman, has entered the Ripple Labs versus U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission case, offering his thoughts on the case's overarching argument. Murphy & McGonigal was a legal firm that he co-founded and served as chairman of. In an interview with Scott Melker on The Wolf, James Murphy addressed the sex as damages idea in the Ripple against SEC case, which is a more substantial argument. While they were talking, he spilled the beans on his feelings about the legal dispute they were in. As the court case's briefing deadlines approach, the showdown between Ripple and the SEC is heating up, and Murphy has claimed that Ripple recently had a very fortunate break, which he views as the more important argument. Next, he referenced an earlier ruling from the Second Circuit Court of Appeals that stated in order for there to be a disincentive, the SEC's commission had to prove that there was misconduct by identifying actual victims who had suffered monetary losses. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled at the year's conclusion that victims of fraud or breaches of securities laws must exist in order for there to be discouragement. A notion called pecuniary injury, which would denote real losses, is essential. Murphy countered that while the sexist file on damages theory did say that XRP sales had caused pecuniary harm, that doesn't mean anyone really bought any XRP. According to the SEC, this claim was made in their damages theory submission. In its lawsuit, the Securities and Exchange Commission essentially contends that some XRP buyers suffered financial losses due to the fact that they made their purchases at a discount. Since there is no proof of actual harm, it will be difficult for the court to prove that the $850 punishment is warranted, considering the details of the case specific. After the disciplinary proceedings are agreed upon, Murphy believes that the previously indicated number will be significantly decreased. The discouragement that seeks to compensate victims for illicit gains becomes impossible when there are no identifiable victims, as Murphy pointed out in his examination of the concept of discouragement. Interest discourages saving, hence $200 million not being invested. Even without victims and discouragement judgment, it is still possible to impose a punishment. The SEC had requested a $2 billion penalty. Note that the SEC has asked the U.S. District Judge Torres Analisa to order the cryptocurrency corporation Ripple to pay a fine of around $2 billion. The business has denied the request. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has won part of the Coinbase case thanks to Judge Fung's findings regarding crucial securities issues in wallet service, staking service, secondary market sales, and other areas, in an effort to influence important rulings in the Coinbase case, including as the dismissal of the complaint. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is secretly pursuing Binance and other defendants. A ruling of Coinbase has been submitted by the SEC in the Binance lawsuit. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the case's plaintiff, notified the court of its increased authority in a late March 27 filing. Judge Falah's ruling in the Coinbase case was communicated to the court by this notice. As the second lawful additional authority against Binance, this one will follow the Binance class action complaint, us, and the payment process. Instead of contesting grounds related to Binance's lawsuit rejection, Zhao, who is wired as the Securities and Exchange Commission, has only told the court. Referring back to a previous court ruling, this one concerns the expansion of authority for the unlicensed sale and offer of BNB Bus as well as Simple and BNB Vault to crypto loan products. In his ruling on Ripple, the head of the Securities and Exchange Commission, CV, has levied accusations against Binance. The arguments put out by Judge Torres, who held that the secondary market, since the customer has no idea who they are buying from, purchases cannot be deemed investment contracts. Meanwhile, the arbitrators have reached a final decision in the issue involving Binance and the SEC. The defendants have fulfilled nearly all of the limits imposed by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission regarding discovery and depositions, with a final joint status report and a possible briefing scheduled for April. He brings up a big problem with a legal precedent that says the SEC has to prove wrongdoing by finding victims who have lost real money. This is because of a ruling by the Second Circuit Court of Melker, which sheds light on the SEC's losses theory and highlights a big problem. It is impossible to determine which XRP users have lost money. This is in contrast to what the SEC is claiming, which is that some buyers got XRP for less than market value. Since this claim fails to provide evidence that specific companies have incurred monetary losses, it exceeds the realm of pecuniary harm. The SEC's case is significantly weaker than it could have been because they have failed to identify specific victims who have endured real monetary damages. When there are no identifiable victims, the deterrent concept, which aims to return illicit revenues to those who have been harmed, is essentially useless. Since this depends on the existence of clients who have been discouraged from buying and have suffered financial harm, it casts doubt on the legitimacy of the $200 million interest claim that the SEC has made. It is intriguing to consider Melker's findings, which suggest that Ripple might have been lucky in this legal matter. Since the defendant has not been proven to have caused any injury, the court will have a hard time proving that the $850 million punishment is appropriate. This highlights the need of proving actual financial harm in securities disputes. Are you aware that Terraform Labs will be facing the SEC in a high-stakes trial? Additionally, Ripple may have a stronger case than initially thought. Judges' instructions to juries should have long-term consequences. Looking ahead, the SEC has asked for an outrageous $2 billion, which is unfair to a lot of individuals. However, Ripple is defending itself, asserting that the allegations are an attempt at intimidation and an exaggeration, and that they stem from the most recent move by the SEC. The operations of Ripple and the secondary market value of XRP could be profoundly affected by this financial strain. Investors are closely monitoring how the court drama may impact Bitcoin moving forward because it is still continuing. That's all for now.